AI projects can often feel like a black box, complex, unpredictable, and difficult to debug. But what if you could open that box and gain full transparency into what's happening at every step? So in today's video, we will show you how Langsmith gives you complete visibility into your AI workflows. From monitoring performance to tracking every single API call, Langsmith helps you understand the behavior of your AI models, ensuring better results and smoother projects. And also, if you're someone who's aiming for a high-paying AI job but not sure how to start or where to begin, we are running an absolutely free masterclass on AI, machine learning, and agentic AI. Our expert will walk you through a proven 3-step framework and a complete roadmap that's helped many of our learners like Steve, Shrija, Mark, and many others land high-paying AI jobs and top certifications. So make sure that you don't miss this free opportunity. You can find the registration link right down in the description box as well as in the pinned comment. So now let's dive in and learn how Langsmith can give you an edge in your AI projects.
So what is Langsmith and Langfuse? So go to this link for Langsmith, okay? smith.langsmith.com. You'll have to create your account, and then from there you'll have to create a API key. So this is your LangChain API key only, the same as your LangChain API key. If you go to this, so get the option for settings API keys here. So go to settings, and from there automatically you'll get the API keys. So I've already got these API keys set up. Top right, you can get your own API key once again. This is again free for experimentations within certain limits. So 5,000 traces per month are free. 5,000 traces. Each trace is your API call, you can say. So for enterprise uses, so again, here you can see I am in my personal account, and as a developer, if you go to enterprise, then you'll have to upgrade to plus account, where it is, I think, $9 per member per enterprise. I think something. You can check the pricing. So right now it is in the developer. Yeah, it is 39. Sorry, not 9. 39 per seat per month. So 5,000 traces per month. That's what I told you is free. Okay, keeps getting reset every month. So on the left side, you see the API keys. Set up your API key. And where will I use that API key? I'll tell you. Okay. So what is Langsmith? Again, that's a platform for debugging, testing, evaluating, and monitoring your LLM applications. Okay. Platform built by the same LangChain guys. Okay. So this Langsmith, there is, I think, one more notebook where I have broken down these words clearly: observability and traceability. So observability is the high level 30,000 feet picture of what is happening, okay, in your app, like a dashboard, and individual components if you want to deep dive, granular step by step. Why is this thing happening? Where is this thing happening? Mechanics diagnostic report. That is your tracing part. You can trace each and every API call, how much time it is taking, what is the latency, how much input tokens, output token, cost, every single thing. That is the tracing part. So in a traditional software, observability means you can understand the internal state of the system just by looking at its outputs like logs, metrics, and traces. So the LLM problem is like a black box because all the reasoning, thought process, everything is outsourced to the LLM. The user will enter a prompt and the answer comes out, let's say, and then several things which are going behind the scenes. Several agents are processing the same user input, multiple steps are happening. So you want to actually see each and everything working. So you can also check out whether these LLMs are hallucinating. Did the RAGs system actually pull the wrong documents? These kind of questions, if you want to answer, you have to dig deeper into your entire application. You have to dissect your application, okay, like doing a post-mortem, okay. So was the prompt you built from the user query and the document confusing for the model? Or did a tool like a calculator or API fail or not? Because your model is making multiple API calls or multiple tools are being used. So if some of the tools are failing, okay, in the front end, you will not realize, but you'll have to go and see the logs. That is one option. Other option is you can implement this traceability. From there, it will be much easily clear. So LLM observability is about making this black box transparent. It's a high-level view that helps answer these questions about performance, how much is the cost, and quality of the outputs. So even users can thumbs up or thumbs down each of the responses coming from your RAG chatbot. Okay. Errors. How often are these errors coming up in your LangChain chains? What are the typical usage patterns? I mean, what these users are typically asking. So you can build entire analytics on that without writing any code. So literally, this all thing can be done without any single line of code. That is the beauty of traceability, and that is their business model essentially. Okay. Again, this works seamless. Langsmith works seamless without writing any additional code. Only if the entire agent or this agentic application is created using LangChain LangGraph, basically coming from the LangChain ecosystem. If you are using Crew AI, and then if you want to implement observability, then you might have to go for Langfuse, which is an open source alternative to Langsmith. So that is the advantage. Langfuse is open source, completely under open source. So there are no limits, no enterprise plans, and there are no vendor lock-ins. So, but then Langfuse will need a lot of codes for the traceability and the observability to be implemented. Okay. So that is one headache with the Langfuse. But here, see, the focus is purely on the LLMs, their behavior, the API calls, the cost, the tokens, and the behavior of this entire flow of the data within these AI applications. Okay, rather than any external data flow or processing, model building. So that is not. If you want to trace, track the actual raw data, model building, experimentation, then a better framework is to go with is, let's say, ML flow or Cube flow. Okay, so ML flow from Microsoft, Cube flow from Google. So these are the MLOps tools which implement the same traceability and observability for machine learning and deep learning experiments. The same experiment we are doing for AI or agentic applications, let's say, or LLM based applications, where we are not building models, we are using the models and then creating an end-to-end application. So that is where the Langsmith comes into picture. Okay. And then there is another framework called as OpenTelemetry. So that is observability for the infrastructure. So once you're deployed it in production, let's say in AWS or wherever, okay, then where is the monitoring of the infrastructure? This is the monitoring of the application. They're monitoring the application part, okay, but application is hosted on some third-party cloud. Some infrastructure is there, some machines are there, some GPUs are there, CPUs are there, allocated, okay, and then on top of that, it might have been Dockerized. So a lot of other things, and then scalability is there. What is failing? Okay, let's say 1,000 requests are coming simultaneously, and then something broke. Then that is not the problem of the application. Your application is working because it is serving to few of them. If the application had broken, it will not serve any of them. If it is serving 50% or 80% and failing for 20%, problem is with the scaling. So now you want to trace where exactly in which step your application failure is coming. Okay, is it because of the bottleneck is the memory, the bottleneck is the CPU or the GPU? Where is the actual bottleneck? So that is the infrastructure related traceability and observability. And so this package called as OpenTelemetry helps to solve that problem. If your entire application is heavily on LangChain ecosystem, then prefer Langsmith. If you at all want to pay for Langsmith. But if your application is done using Crew AI or let's say AutoGen, and then you want to have maybe observability, traceability, then you can explore this AI, Arise AI. Okay, this is not only cheaper, but compatible with a lot of other frameworks. Okay, you can do even self-hosting also. So simple. Okay, you just have to put the API key and that's it. It will keep tracking because see all the API calls. See, when your application has been created by using LangChain ecosystem, then all the API calls are made by LangChain wrappers. You will be using Chat OpenAI of LangChain. You will be using Google Gemini from LangChain. So all the API calls are anyway wrapped with LangChain. Okay. And this guy anyway tracks the entire LangChain, whatever API calls are being made or whatever application has been created using this LangChain ecosystem. So it becomes very easy to implement or integrate these things. Okay. Okay. So here is a problem that so it's like a detective work. You want to find the root cause of, let's say, some failure happened, or let's say the user keeps endlessly waiting for the response to come. So response is coming after 2 minutes, and then you are wondering whether the agent is taking. Why is the agent taking too much time? Where is the problem? Is the network failure happening? Latency from the model, or the model itself is taking 2 minutes to think, it has gone into a deep reasoning mode. So where is the exact reason? So those things you want to trace. Okay. That is what we call as the traceability in layman terms. Okay. So let's say the user is asking, what is the update on the project X? So agent step one takes the query and passes it to the retriever. Retriever will search the vector database, three relevant document it has, and then this is the prompt. So not only that, see, the another big advantage about Langsmith I'll show you is you can do prompt monitoring, prompt management, prompt versioning also. Okay, so instead of hard coding all the prompts in your application, you can put all your prompts in a repository, and that is Langsmith. And you can, for each of the prompts that you deploy on Langsmith, you'll get a prompt ID. Okay, you just use the prompt using the prompt ID. That is the beauty. So that is the level of traceability you get. Okay, so if you want to change the prompt or create a better version of the same prompt, you just have to update the prompt, assign it version 2, and that's it. ID is the same, automatically it points to the version 2, and you can use the different ID for the version 2, and that's it. You don't have to hard code everything. So that is the beauty. I'll show that prompt monitoring and management, how it can be done. So in fact, this entire thing can also be done in Langsmith. But let's say this is hard coded in your RAG application. The three documents are there in the question. So the agent, sorry, and the giant prompt. So this is the giant prompt because all the context is there along with the user query and everything. That is sent to some model, and the model generate the final answer. And the answer is given back to the user. So these are the 6, 7 steps very clearly in any RAG application. The trace will capture the entire sequence. That is the beauty. For each step, how much millisecond was taken, that count or calculation is also there. So for example, this entire step took 1 minute, 15 seconds. So which is the bottleneck? You want to find out. Let's say you want to finish this entire chain within 20 seconds instead of 1 minute, 15 seconds. You want to finish this entirely in 20 seconds. So then you need to identify the bottleneck. Which step is taking the longest time? Okay, is it the retrieval which is taking the longest time? Or is it the generation which is taking the longest time? Where is exactly the bottleneck? So this trace helps you. Okay. Or let's say if the answer given was wrong, I mean the user marked it as wrong, then you can check, was the retrieved document irrelevant, or is the LLM bluntly hallucinating? If the LLM is bluntly hallucinating, then you need to change the prompt. Okay. But if the retriever itself is pulling irrelevant documents, then you can't curse the LLM. Okay, the problem is not with the LLM. Then the problem is with your retriever module, or your chunking strategy, or your vector database, or your retrieval strategy. So maybe that cosine similarity is not the appropriate one. You might have to go for hybrid search, keyword-based search, BM25 retriever. So this kind of thing really helps you to narrow down to the root cause. So instead of beating around the bush, what could have possibly happened, okay, you know the exact reason, and you can actually improve that exact reason. Okay, so yeah. And what is the actual prompt the model is seeing, along with the context and every other thing filled into those placeholders, because your actual prompt will have a lot of placeholders, as we have seen. So what has got filled in those placeholders, that also you can trace actually. Yeah, so observability is the high level idea and about performance, cost, quality errors. But if you want to deep dive and do a dissection of each and every step, that is a traceability part. Fine. Okay, so coming back to our implementation here, we have already set up the accounts and assuming you will have to do this pip install. So let me just quickly do that. Do I have the code somewhere to pip install? Yeah, here. Okay, done. So the best part about tracing is it is automatic. You just have to create an environment variable and any LangChain code you run will be traced. That is the beauty. So all the agents will be running your LangChain chains ultimately. The chain is getting invoked. Your ultimately entire LangGraph agent is what? Built on top of LangChain. So there also you invoke the chain ultimately, right? So Langsmith API key, that is the keyword you'll have to set. So please go back here. So make sure that you are using the Langsmith API key. That is a newer one uh, suggested from the API, which has very recently changed. The older one said to use LangChain API key. So both will work as of now, unless this becomes deprecated. Okay. So the older Langsmith documentation had LangChain API key, but the newer one is having Langsmith API key. So please make sure that you are adding this in your environment variable by that name. So ultimately the key that I'm using is same, doesn't matter. Okay. But telling you the right thing here. Okay. And then you are setting it to true. So this is the only line of code that you have to use to start the tracing. That's it. So API key, tracing to true, and we are good to go. Fine. And then let's run this GPT-4 mini model. You are a helpful assistant that translates input language to output language, whatever. Okay. So create a prompt, run the chain. Hello world. I love natural language processing. Right, that is clear. Okay. So this is a simple prompt where we want to convert or translate a given sentence from English to French. Right. So that is what the chain is invoking. Let's do this. Yeah. So this is the response and traceability sent to default project in Langsmith. So now let's go to Langsmith. Go to your main page, tracing projects. Click on this tracing projects. You see this default project. So click on this, and now we have got this output. Exactly, the timestamp is also there. So once you click on this, anywhere you click, this is the page that you get. Okay. And on the left, can you see renewable sequence? So totally it took, let's say 0.98 seconds, and total number of tokens, cost, everything is broken down. Input tokens, output tokens. Now this was a very simple prompt, very simple statement to be converted into English to French. So the cost and everything is very simple, but I have the cost breakup also. So roughly 1/3 was used for input cost and 2/3 were used for output cost. Okay. So yeah, this is the token usage, amount of seconds it took. Okay. And the actual GPT-4 mini model. So click on this, you will see the input and outputs also, what this model would have got. Okay. This is a text which you gave as English, and this is the system prompt. This is the human message, start time, success, and everything. And now this is the thing which is coming from the model. I'm just clicking on that model. Okay. So go to the API docs and you can see more details. So if I am running this for the third time, the run count will also increase once again. So you see, every time it is updating. So sometimes it is taking 0.96, 0.98, 0.81. Okay, so if you want, you can run the remaining part. So if you want to trace any specific function call also, that also can be done. Just you have to wrap it within traceable. So direct API calls will be whichever is coming from LangChain. They will be anyway tracked, but if you want, you can explicitly also track other things using the traceable. Any custom function can also be tracked. So how many times this function is being invoked, how many seconds it took to execute, and so on. Okay, so that also can be tracked. So if you want to create an entire evaluation system, that also can be done. But yeah, this is more elaborate evaluation of your entire system if you want to do it. Rather, what I would suggest is just go to your Langsmith dashboard and then go to anyway data set and expand. This will automatically come once you run the remaining part of the code in that notebook. But more importantly, the prompts part. So all the prompts can be also created and tracked. Prompt monitoring. So you can see this entire prompt is there, and you can also do prompt versioning, commits, everything is there. Model configuration. So for each prompt, you can also configure model and their temperatures and every other thing. And you will get a ID for that prompt ID. Can you see this prompt ID? So you can use that prompt ID, and using that prompt ID, you can also use that prompt. Use the LangChain hub. So yeah, the other way is to use the LangChain hub to pull the prompts programmatically in more advanced. So let's say you set up the client, which is the Langsmith client, and you are pulling from the template, whatever topic. So you can pull and push also. So push is like whatever prompt you have created. It is a prompt that we have created. That prompt you can push it to your project, and that will generate a URL also. That is the unique link in the UI that you saw just now. Okay, for this prompt, that is a unique link. So can you see this eval basic? So this is the unique link. Use your own model, create a custom chain, and then invoke. Other way around, if you also want to include the model, see, in that case, you don't have to create a separate model client. In this case, we created a separate model client. Now, this model client could be Gemini model also. So this is how it is, compatible play. Okay. So if you want to use the already built-in model, let's say, so then this is the best. Okay. And if you want, you can use it without LangChain also, but still you can pull your model using Langsmith. Sorry, pull your prompt using Langsmith. So in this case, you are not importing LangChain, but directly importing the prompt from Langsmith. And then you are using the client, which is your OpenAI client SDK directly, not the LangChain wrapper version. Here we have used the LangChain wrapper version. Okay, this is your LangChain wrapper version. And if you want, you can use a direct version of your clients also. This is the direct version of the OpenAI client coming from the OpenAI SDK. So that is also possible. So Langsmith does not impose that you always use LangChain wrappers for the models. You can directly use it. So go to the documentation if you really are interested in this. But again, the free account has 5,000 prompts, sorry, 5,000 traces that you can. That's a good limit for experimentations, I think. 5,000 per month. That's pretty good, actually. Yeah, explore this. Maybe this will take some time for you to get used to. Okay, you can even go for the playground and you can change your prompts and then see the output then and there. Okay. And yeah, this is what we call as a playground. You can even compare prompts and their performance, what changed and all that. So all these things are there. Now this Langsmith is also coming up with this agent builder. So you can directly create agents from within Langsmith. So they are still in production. I mean, they are still in, not production, sorry, they are still in development stage. Okay. Maybe this will be more tightly integrated with your traceability directly with the agents. Okay. Right now we are implementing those traceability within the agents using your API, but this is an agent builder which is drag and drop, just like your OpenAI agent builder. So this will also be a drag and drop interface, okay, and which already has traceability built in, you can say.
So that's all for today's video. Now you understood how Langsmith brings full observability and traceability to your AI workflows, giving you the insights you need to debug, optimize, and enhance your applications. And also, if you're eager to take your AI skills to the next level, make sure to sign up for a free AIML and Agentic AI masterclass that I mentioned earlier. It's a perfect resource to help you build the skills needed to secure that high-paying AI job. Also, be sure to like the video if it was helpful, subscribe to the channel for more, and turn on the notification bell so you stay up to date with our latest content. Also, if you have any suggestions or doubts, feel free to comment below. And also make sure that you watch this video next.